Hey fellers, welcome to the Heart of David. What you see on the screen here, I'm just going to play this video, and it's a shame that something like this has to happen. And so what is this about? This is in Ontario, where I live in Canada, and this is about the Amish. I think it'd be I don't get many views on my channel at all, guys, but it would help if you shared this, because what the government has done to them is just horrible. They fined them $400,000 for failing to download the ArriveCan app, which turned out to be like what would you call it? A scam. ArriveCan is a scam. Just like all the things in the States with all the military-industrial complex, people making money off of like all different types of stuff. It's no different in Canada with this. I forget what ArriveCan is exactly. I would have to research it, but you'll find out. Remember, the Amish doesn't have touch really with the outside world. They don't use phones. They don't use any of that type of stuff. Maybe some do, but pay attention to this one. From what I understand, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but my heart told me to defend these people. I believe they were fined $6,000 each time they crossed from Ontario to, the United States, which, you know what, it probably wouldn't be that tough. It's the longest undefended border in the world. So I don't know what it is, like 6,000, 7,000 kilometers long. And the reason they were going over the border was to help the sick of their own community. But in the States, I believe from what I heard that they are Christian. And so I understand that according to the Bible, they shouldn't have done that, because we're supposed to follow all the laws and stuff. I'm just being truthful with everything. I'm always honest. I'm just saying that. But what the government did was shocking, because they didn't because they didn't download this ArriveCan app, which turns out to be a mega scam in Canada. They made this app, and it was supposed to, like, literally someone could design it. I could probably design it. And it turned out to be something like in the hundreds of millions of dollars. I forget how much, but for something that could have cost thousands of dollars. So you're going to have to read into that. We'll hear about this in here anyways. But because they crossed over, because they didn't download this, they couldn't see, because they're not in touch with the outside world, right? God bless them. They were fined each time they knew they did it. They had to find out if they were going to be fined, I guess, on this app, and they did it so many times that it worked its way up to $400,000. So they don't believe in fighting anybody. Let's just listen. And I'm going to put in my description box a link where you can donate to it. It's a very worthy cause, when you see the way these people live. And before I play this, I just wanted to say, I said in another video, and I feel the same today. If I think I would be fine living in one of these communities. You'd have to get used to it. All I would need is a bed. But the thing is, I would need my medications because I have very serious pain now. But I think about that, and I think about the way the world is. And it's so nice being out in nature, and you're in contact with people. Everyone believes in God. I think that's the way it is. Let's just listen. Let's see what's going on.
West in the town. I'm here at an Amish farmhouse in the township of Chatsworth, Ontario, about a 2.5-hour drive west of Toronto. It's so nice here. It's so gorgeous. I'm with some horses and some cows. They're all watching to see what the hubbub is about. What's interesting about this place is that it is run as if it was the 18th century. In fact, the Amish were a order that was persecuted in Europe. They went from the Netherlands and Germany and Switzerland, and they came over to North America, including to Canada. You may be more familiar with the Amish in Pennsylvania. They're the subject of many Hollywood movies, including an exciting one with Harrison Ford when he took refuge by hiding in an Amish community precisely because it was unplugged. It was a great movie, and many of the things in there are just the same here. There are no telephones. There is no internet. People here don't spend their days surfing or Facebooking or Instagramming. They do something that I think would terrify many people today. They actually meet each other and talk to each other face to face. They go to church every Sunday in a horse-drawn carriage. There's no cars here. And even the houses do not have electricity. There is a small diesel engine in the workshop, which I'll show you in a minute, because they make all their own stuff and they have some need for power tools. But basically they use tools as they did hundreds of years ago, even the farm itself.
I just wanted to say that in this day and age, the government hates people like this because they're able to sustain themselves. That's a very good thing.
Is horse-drawn vehicles. I was just shown a brand new manure spreader, and I made a joke that was one of my nicknames. That's not actually true, but I was trying to find some humor that would work on someone who was a farmer who didn't know pop culture references. It's fascinating stepping onto an Amish farm. These people are law-abiding, they're peaceful, they're pacifist, which is one of the reasons they've been picked on. They don't get into fights. They don't get into wars. And I was talking to one of the community elders who said, if they ever break the law, they pay the price submissively. They do not fight in court. He gave me the example. He said, what if a young Amish man went shooting rabbits on someone else's property who had signs, do not enter? He said, in a case such as that, and it sounds like that might have happened, they plead guilty, they pay the fine and pay the price as a community. They are not belligerent people. But what's so interesting is in this one case, they know in their gut something's wrong. Close to $400,000 in fines, mainly for not using Justin Trudeau's stupid ArriveCan app. And just think about that. You know the ArriveCan app, when you would travel back to Canada from a foreign land during COVID, you had to fill out this buggy spyware, malware app that we now know was money laundering tens of millions of dollars. Anyways, how do the Amish use an app when they don't have a phone? They don't have electricity. And why should they use it at all, given their religious exemption from taking the COVID jab? None of it made sense, but don't tell that to the bureaucrats.
Just looking at this, I make an oath or solemnly affirm and say as follows. So this is, you know what? I'm not going to say it either. The requirement to be fully against conflicts with my sincerely held religious belief or practice that prohibits me from receiving it. The nature of the
COVID jab.
Damn it. I can't go down, obviously. I'm trying to scroll down. The nature of the sincerely held religious belief, I'm not going to even call it religious, I'm using a God, belief of practice is as follows. The Old Order Amish has been an established religion in what became Canada since the 1700s. Our communities live on both sides of the Canadian and U.S. border. We travel between communities for worship and to exercise our fundamental freedoms, as laid out in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, para 2, Freedom of conscience and religion, freedom of peaceful assembly. They're tearing this all apart now, though, in the U.S. and Canada. It doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? Freedom of association within our church community. We know the rest. We know what's going on here. We are plain people. We don't have cars, telephones, computers. We support our own private one-room schools. We do pay property and education taxes. So you know what the Bible says. It says to do these things and to abide by the law. But we pray for those running for office. We don't serve jury duty. We don't have property insurance. It makes me wonder because the law is the law, right? But listen, these people are righteous. They really are. We don't engage in lawsuits. We're conscientious objectors of the military. Wow. We're in the world, but not of the world. God created us, so we depend in Him. Wow. It reminds me of thinking of like the Essenes or something, but they're not the same thing. But excuse me. This is a kind of community you would want to be involved in, and growing up, just thinking of all the things that. Going to Upper Canada Village and seeing all these things, I'm like, I don't know how they would ever want to do this. But when I see what's going on in the world and all that, I would rather that. But that's in a way that if I wasn't sick. But I believe I could live in a society like this. So let's help these people. Seriously, please donate something to them.
None of it made sense, but don't tell that to the bureaucrats enforcing the ArriveCan app on behalf of Justin Trudeau and the bureaucrats prosecuting the ArriveCan app fines, who answered to Doug Ford himself. What's so incredible is I sat down for a meeting for about 90 minutes with the head of the community. He showed me that in the 74 families in this community, they have $400,000 in fines. And here's what's new. Here's what I have never seen before in all of our stories involving the ArriveCan app. Because these folks here are not getting emails, they're not getting phone calls, collections agents, they have nowhere to phone. So what they've done is they have attached a lien on the title deeds of these homes, a kind of legal encumbrance, without telling the folks here. That's the crazy thing. I was told about a young Amish farmer who went to the bank to get a bank loan to buy some cattle. He was told by the bank officer, I can't do that. Did you know that there is a lien on your property for thousands of dollars for the ArriveCan? And the Amish man said, what? So not only were they harassed into using this app that they couldn't use, not only were they persecuted because they have a religious exemption because of their religion, but I've never seen this before. The province of Ontario went ahead and tagged homes, not this particular home, but homes in this community, stopping families from changing the title from father to son on a farm, stopping families from using the farm to get a loan to operate their farm. I've never seen such a punitive, bureaucratic, bullying example in my life. And as you know, the Democracy Fund has fought 3,000 cases, many of them on the ArriveCan issue. It was challenging to set up today.
That's what happens when you have a very left-leaning progressive. This is what they do to people. Can you imagine they're also being told by Trudeau himself about nitrogen and farming and fertilizer costs going up? I mean, we live in a country where we have every resource we could ever need. God will help these people out somehow. He will.
Today's meeting, like I say, we just physically showed up, but we found a friend of the community who's not Amish himself, but he does some business with the Amish. He heard about the Democracy Fund. He knew that the Democracy Fund would take cases of people from any background, any religion, any station in life, and he contacted us. And through this friendly neighbor, we were able to arrange a meeting today. Like I say, normally we interview the expert, we interview the newsmaker. But that was a rule we had to follow here. We couldn't show the face or the voice of the community elder. In fact, he asked us not even to use his name, and we're going to respect that. We're going to do more than respect that. We're going to help them. We are going to take the cases of these people. We're starting with 3 cases, but I hope we can take many more. Trouble is, these things were done, like I say, without notice to the community. Some of these liens are 2 years old.
The left knows no shame.
So we've got to get in there and convince a judge to crack open this case because it wasn't done fairly. There's a concept in law. Do you have the legal capacity to make certain decisions? Judges always want to make sure that no one is being taken advantage of. No one is being railroaded into anything. It's a reason why we protect, for example, children, why we protect people who don't have mental capacity. And I'm not comparing the Amish with children or people with a mental incapacity. But what I am saying is if you were a community that does not use email, does not use phones, does not use apps, that has a religious exemption, and you have this bureaucratic war against them, where you're sending notices in ways that the community doesn't even know, that is not a level playing field. That is the government being a bully. And here the Democracy Fund is going to level the playing field. We have...
You know what I thought of just the other day? I thought of this. Sorry. I think we've all thought of this, but I kind of felt it in a different way. You know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this, right? Get that or be fired. Can you imagine being a nurse or a doctor? You spent like 4, 7, maybe even longer years. You're like a neurosurgeon or something like that, or whatever job. And you're told you can't do that. That's complete fascism. Do this or else. That's what's happening all over the world. And so
set up a website called helptheamish.com, and you can do 3 things at this website. Number 1, you can share this story with other people, not just in Ontario, but across Canada and North America, who are outraged at the bullying by the government against these peaceful people. Number 2, you can sign the petition. I think that if Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, were to see what was being done in his name, he would say, that just ain't right. Stop bullying them. But number 3, just in case the first 2 steps don't work, we're going to court. Adam Blake Gallipo, one of the lawyers at the Democracy Fund, has spoken with these 3 families, and he's agreed to take their case, and hopefully he'll be able to take more. There's other Amish communities. You can...
matter of trust with the Amish as well, because I've known them so well for so long that they felt comfortable asking me about that.
So you reassured them, because you've been dealing with them on a business level, you've gone to know them personally. So it was your telephone that was used to connect Adam Blake Gallipo of the Democracy Fund with the head of what they call their steering committee. So you were sort of the bridge between the old world and the new.
That's right. That's right.
Well, you sat in the meeting, and it's sort of funny what I'm doing here now, because normally I would show the leader of the community, and I would have him done. By the way, he looks wonderful. He sounds wonderful. It was such a heartwarming meeting, but he can't be seen on camera. That's just not their way. You heard my introduction here. Is that an accurate representation of what's been happening to the families here?
Very accurate.
And, of course, Adam Blake Gallipo is dealing with the families directly. And, again, I'm not exactly sure how that's being done because, fax machines, phone calls, emails. I guess you're the interlocutor. You're like the ambassador, the diplomat.
That's right. I show up. We set a date and a time, and I go to a certain place, and then we have a meeting on the phone with Adam.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for doing that. It's sort of incredible that you're willing to help these people, even though you don't have your own skin in the game. These Amish, I just feel like it was bullying. The leader told us about one case of young Amish people crossing over to the U.S. side where there's Amish communities to give help to an ailing father. Another case where sort of young men were going to meet young women on like a date, it sounded like. Like just they crossed the border all the time. And then suddenly, every time they did that, because they didn't have an app, they were being hit $6,000 or so a time. It really felt like bullying to me. I was furious. I told the head of the Amish that I would not be a good Amish person because I would be cursing, and I know they don't do that.
No, not at all.
I'm glad I was on my best behavior.
You did very well.
I mean, I was sort of confessing to the head of the Amish. I said, there's a Christian phrase that the Amish really live, which is turn the other cheek. Someone does you wrong, turn the other cheek. They're not fighters. I would not be a good Amish because I have an instinct in me to fight back. And he made it very, very clear to me that they do not fight. They sit and he used the phrase, the government sort of puts their hand on them and they take it. But he said, if there are others who are not Amish who want to come, he said it was almost like they were praying for help in this. He didn't know if this was an answer, but he sort of said, God works in mysterious ways. I think that's sort of what he meant. Am I right?
Oh, yes, that's exactly it. One of the things he told me, and he's quoted a few times, that scripture, the Bible, I hope I'm saying it right. They believe they are in this world, but not of this world. Hope I said that right. And that's the chief tenet.
So we went back and forth with this, and he gave the example of, a young man shooting rabbits where he shouldn't, and he said they don't fight it, they accept it. But in this case, not only did they do nothing wrong, but it was a violation of their religious freedom to be forced to take the jab. And they all had that, they attested to their religious exemption. So I think that this isn't just an attack on their economy. Like imagine being a farmer told you can't get a loan because some bureaucrat put a ArriveCan app lien. I've never heard of that. 3,000 cases at the Democracy Fund. I never heard of that before.
That's just wild. But it stops everything that they want to do. And they have no advance notice.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you and I live in the world of phones and emails, and the folks here are living.
I just wanted to say that I think that you don't want them to lose all of that, right? That's 74 families. That's a lot of money. That's probably a lot of livestock. It's probably a lot of property. I quit social media, except for educational and, I have other channels. I have one for music actually, but besides that, I don't do social media unless I'm selling something. You know what? I don't use data on my phone. If I go to, if there's Wi-Fi I can access, right? But only if I really need it. I just talk and text if I really, really need it when I'm on the go. When I'm outside, I don't want to be scrolling around on my phone. You go down the pathways, people's heads are bent down, and I'm on my mountain biking. I bike pretty quick, and then ding ding, people don't even move out of the way. They're talking to people on their phones and stuff. I think the Amish would have a heart attack if they saw what is being done to Christians in the Western world. There are many things now that you can't even get without a QR code. It's just ridiculous. And you know what the stupid thing is? Well, good for them. But if an EMP ever goes off, the only people who are going to survive is them. Except for people that come to their farms when that happens. But you get what I mean, right? Although I use technology, although I do video editing to do this, to do other videos, to work on the computer, that type of stuff, I kind of would be okay without it as long as I have my Bible. But this world is forcing us into something that is going to be torn down anyways. Something like an EMP will go off. they'll have to rebuild. It'll take 10 years. Anyways, I'm not trying to go into like the Book of Revelation type. So that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to say like they're good people. These are the righteous people, along with other Christians, but they're the righteous people of the earth, and they're being, in my view, they're being targeted unfairly, and they should be exempt, but they shouldn't cross the border anymore. Because you can't just do that in any country, right?
Living like it's 1800, and you have to admire them. They're self-sufficient. I've never heard of an Amish person on welfare. I've never heard of an Amish person committing, getting drunk and getting into a bar fight. These are special people, and I think it behooves us to help them because they won't help themselves. And we can disagree with the pacifism, but the constructive thing is to do something about it and to help.
Couldn't agree more.
Tell me a little bit more about.
It wouldn't take long if each person gave $5 or $10 and you pass this on. Please pass this on. This is a very worthy cause. This is why I'm doing this. And it doesn't take long to get to that amount if you share. Do that, please. Because if you share that, that is a righteous act.
But how you know these folks? You buy and sell things with them?
Well, primarily what I was doing was buying lumber and beams because I have a farm myself, so I have a bit of an affinity for them. But I think I started buying lumber about 20 years ago from them. So I got to know the different individuals in the community. And even when this was going on, this COVID lockdown, the CAN Pass existed, I talked to one of them, and they didn't seem to have a problem at the border. So I thought no more of it. They got a good talking to at the border, but they were let go.
If it weren't for you sort of breaking the ice with them and letting them know that we're okay, I don't think they would have met with us. And, we had that long meeting, no phones out, no recording. It was just a heart-to-heart. And even now, the elder is standing about 100 feet away because he just doesn't want to be on camera. That's their way. But our way, my way, is to try to help people who need help. And these folks, I'm not going to say they slipped through the cracks because they were hunted. Like, you don't just whoopsies put a $6,000 lien on a farm. That is a policy decision to punish these people. And I challenge the premier and the MPPs and the justice minister to come and meet these folks and look them in the eye and say, yeah, $6,000 lien. Pay it.
You would have think they would advise them,
to own
that much
or
money.
Disown this outrageous decision. I'm so mad about it.
I understand that.
And that's just the thing. Oh, so we sent you an email, so you should have known. Something like that should be advised, especially they would have noticed it building, I'm sure. It's no different than what is it in the States, and this is Canada too. That person went to jail for this, I think, or one person did. No. They lost their business, bed and breakfast, in 2011, I think it was, in Canada. They wouldn't make a gay wedding cake, and they I think you know where I'm going with this. This is just what's happening in the world, and it's sick, and it makes me sick.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this report, and because I think I'd never heard of this before. Frankly, I didn't even know that there was Amish in Canada. I knew there were Old Order Mennonites. I knew the Amish were in Pennsylvania. And I didn't know. So I've learned a lot today, and it's sort of wonderful. We need a petition. We had a petition for a Amish fella in the States named Amos Miller, who was raided by police because he was selling conversation just man to man with our friend Lincoln, our videographer, and a community friend named Grant, who arrange the meetings because there's no electricity here. There's no telephones. There's no internet. There's no TV. How do you interact with a community that, for all intents and purposes, is living as they lived 200 years ago? I'm in the shop, and it's such an interesting place. I want to show you around. The community leader explained things to me, but of course I couldn't film him doing that, so I'm going to do my best to repeat it, and I'll have some observations on my own. The first is, what I see right above the door here, share.
I'm not going to make this video longer than it should be, but I wonder why they chose to live exactly in that time? Does anyone know? I don't know. I haven't researched it, but I wonder why they chose that. Or was it just a point of no electricity? I definitely see tools there that are advanced. I certainly see tools there that are not from the 1800s, but listen, I don't watch TV. I have a big TV. I never watch it. I feel for them. I know that is the life I wish I could be in today. I'm telling you the truth. That is. And when when the millennial kingdom comes, and then after that, it's going to be so beautiful. It's going to be, you may have social anxiety, you may have other issues, PTSD, excuse me, you may have pain, everyone has an issue today. Those things aren't going to exist, and we're going to be in a community. It's going to be a community, and everyone's going to love one another. And so those kind of words I could not say even 2 years ago. I don't know. It's God, right? It's God. Because just think of the best time you've ever felt in your entire life. So just take that moment and just picture that moment of your life, living that forever. And then think to yourself, God's ways are past finding out. We know this. Impossible. You cannot calculate it with math because it's real infinity. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope I'd love to see the amount go up. I don't know where you can find to see how much it go up. I guess it's the link that I will share. I haven't looked at it. I just felt passionate to do this. So God bless. This is for a very good cause.